Well, thank you, Mark. That was beautiful, as always. Got to give you props and blessings for that. And I just want to say welcome. Welcome, everybody, to our service today. It's going to be sort of a surprise, a little different today. Gaither is going to be giving our message, and so please welcome him. But I just want to say welcome to everybody here on this beautiful morning. This is about as beautiful weather we've had in a long time. All right, well, let's begin with some announcements. And the first thing I want to say is something that didn't make it into our bulletin to be aware of is that monthly meeting will be this week at 7 p.m. on Thursday. So we usually have a pretty big turnout for monthly meeting, so please join us then. We have a missions committee meeting this week on Tuesday at 7 p.m. It's going to be a virtual meeting, and Kat is going to send out the link to everybody to be able to join on that meeting. On the 11th, we're going to have, it's a little different, it's called a Super Bowl, but it's a different kind of Super Bowl. It's an S-O-U-P-E-R Super Bowl, in that we will bring in canned goods and other staples that we will deliver to Hand in Hand Pantry. And on the 24th of this month, we're going to have a big game night. So please join us. That's a Saturday night. And I believe there will be bingo involved. There may be other games as well. We will see. Well, this is sort of another announcement is we have graduation Sunday coming up in a bit. And so please contact Stephanie Egerton Dean about that. And there are volunteer opportunities as well. And our flowers are brought to you today. Who brought our flowers today? What? Everybody. Look at all these flowers. Gosh, sort of blows you away. Yes.
I just need to add that there will be bouquets. There will be bouquets that need to be delivered sometime this week. And if you will, I'll meet you up there and I'll give you the card that goes with it. Look at these cards that our kids put together. Each one of them has a name on it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all yummy too, because they have candy. But they have the names, and then I'm sure there's going to be more. If you have a special somebody that you would like to pick one to, feel free to do that and get those put together for the showings that we have. We have 10 already that we know of, but if you know somebody extra, just let me know.
Gosh, that's great. I just want everybody here to pick out a flower amongst all these bunches and imagine that is you, that you are this beautiful flower amidst the whole bunch, and that each and every one of these little flowers is important. They give us a little bit of beauty, a little bit of love, a little light. Also, let's remember birthdays. We got a number of birthdays in February, but coming up this week include Gary Ingold and a couple of our good friends, Lane Miner and Russell Cherry. And definitely hold them in the light, wish them happy birthday. There's a lot of stuff going on this week. Anyway, could we sing our first hymn? Are there any other announcements? We're going to pause right here. Are there any other announcements? All right, good. Okay, so sing our first hymn. It's number 58, This Is My Father's World. Well, we've come to that part of our service where we hold folks in the light. Folks that specifically need prayer or to be held in the light, either for a joy, a celebration, perhaps a tough time or a sorrow. Are there things we'd like to share with our fellowship and community today? Gosh, there's a lot. Okay.
I've asked for my brother-in-law, he's technically not my, but anyway, I've asked for prayer for him. He a couple of years ago he had prostate cancer and they took that out. No problems, he's good. But this past week he had hernia surgery, and he's in a lot of pain. And the first medicine was he was allergic to, so he got very sick the first a little bit, but it's been hard for him to get up and move by himself. So you can pray for my sister too. So she's been his caregiver. So it's Vicky and Bob. If you'll lift them up over the next week or so, and hopefully he'll heal pretty fastly.
Okay. I'd just like to say a praise. Last Sunday, my mother had chest pains, and she always goes on walks, and she started to get to where she wasn't walking as far, and she was having pains, but she was like sticking it out. And it got too bad on last Sunday, and they took her to the hospital. She had a small blockage, and she had in one valve, and they put a stent in, and she's doing fine. She actually had one day off, and then she came back into work. Oh, wow. So please keep her in her prayers that she takes care of herself and heals, but they caught it before it became a heart attack, so I'm very grateful.
And what's your mom's name again?
Sally Hughes.
Bob and I have two things that we like. First of all, for those of you that have known the birthday boy Russell, can y'all believe he'll be 30 Friday? So he's getting older. And he's at National Guard duty this weekend, and we always think about how important our National Guardsmen and women are to us. And second, this afternoon, our Lindley leaves for Norway, where she will be helping do a mental health therapist conference. She'll be gone for 9 days. We hope not only does she have an incredible time, but that the conference goes well. So keep both of our wonderful children in your thoughts this week.
This is loud. I have an update and a praise report. Many of you know I've been asking for prayers for my sister and my brother-in-law. He is an officer in the Air Force and has been deployed in the Middle East. And he's still there. He's actually stateside for a little bit doing some training, so that's a praise. He's got to see his kids and my sister this week. But the big praise report is he found out where he's going to be stationed next, and it's going to be in South Carolina. So, so obviously what an answer to prayer that has been for us. So he's only going to be, and that'll be this upcoming summer, and so he'll be only about 3 hours away. So then he'll be back reunited with his family, so it's great.
Hey, what's his name again? I'm sorry.
His name is Mark Whistler, Colonel Mark Whistler.
I just want to say thank you for prayers this morning. I had been asking you all for several weeks to pray for my brother-in-law, and it was really touch and go for a while with him. He was really, really sick. But he, after 3.5 weeks in the hospital, recovered enough to go back to his nursing facility. He's not out of the woods yet because he's not able to walk yet. He was in the bed so long, they're having to do physical therapy. So he has fallen out of the bed, I think, 4 times, and they call in the middle of the night. They called this morning at 5:30 to tell me he fell out of bed again, but he's not hurt. So anyway, he's improved, and he's back at his care facility, so things are looking up. So thank you for prayers there. And thank you for prayers for me last week. I had one of my eyes done, so now get the other one done in about a month, and maybe I can see.
I hope so.
burn up a few calories walking down.
Thank you. Close friend of mine's name is Mark, and he went into the hospital about 13 days ago with debilitating back pain, pretty much unquenchable. Thank the Lord he's been able to get released a couple of days ago and is in a rehab facility. But I'd ask your prayers for Mark and also for the support group that's been helping him get through this. Thank you.
All right, well, let's just take a moment or two to gather our hearts, our spirits, and just gather together and center down as we hold these folks in the light. God, we come to you today in great joy. Dear God, there were so many days these past month or so where it was cold, it was rainy, it was foggy, and yet we knew that there would be days like this day. Beautiful, sunny, and warm. And dear God, we want to thank you for this day. But we also want to hold in the light and in love the folks that we heard about just a few moments ago. Dear God, be with Bob and Vicky as he continues to recover from his surgery and she continues to support him. Dear God, be with Russell and Lindley as they go on their journeys together and keep them safe, especially those in our services that are protecting us, that are, well, just sort of doing their job to keep us safe. Dear God, we want to hold them in the light, including Mark, who is going to be stationed not too far away. Hopefully we'll be able to see him some Sunday. Dear God, be with Sally. Hold her in the light as she continues to recover. Let her know that we truly are holding her in the light, and we are so thankful that she got the help she needed before it was too late. Dear God, continue to be with Kent. And let him know that he is loved and cared for even far away. And that the love Gay has for him is truly sacred and beautiful. And just thank you for protecting her and working with the medical care as she got the help she needs for her eyes. And dear God, last, let's hold Mark in the light. Someone we maybe don't know specifically, but we know that he is a good and beautiful soul. And he needs your love and your light and your support. Dear God, let's just please walk with each and every one of us on this journey. Hold us in your light and your love and all of those things we can mention and open right now, and those we just know, well, it's just between you and us. In your spirit, we pray these words. We love you, God. Amen. Could our ushers please come forward? Should we take a moment to pray? Dear God, we just want to be so thankful, so reminded of the gifts you bring in this world. And I want to be so thankful for all the ministers in this congregation. We are so blessed in our faith that we have so many ministers, that each and every one of us is in our own way called to ministry. I was reminded of that with Kat and the work on the missions committee, and that each and every one of us has an opportunity to participate, to give. And I just want to thank you so much for the gifts that all of us bring in all the various ways that we go about our walk in this world. Dear God, I just want to thank you for all the ministers and the idea and the knowledge that each one of us has a ministry to give, we pray. Amen. Could our children please come forward?
Good morning. My name's Gaither. I don't know most of you, so I thought I'd introduce myself. I'm a scout leader, and today we're celebrating the anniversary of scouting. So there are a couple of different things I want to say this morning, but first I want to start off with a story. And this happened to me about 20 years ago. I was scoutmaster at North Main Street in High Point. It was Tuesday night. It was dark outside. The winds were blowing. They were almost howling. The trees were groaning because the weatherman had said a hurricane is coming the very next day. My scouts came into the meeting and they were agitated. They were frantic almost. And I said, "What are you worried about?" And they said, "A hurricane's coming. We should be at home. We should be getting ready for the hurricane." And I said, "What are you worried about?" I said, "Let's take a worst case scenario. A tree falls on your house. As a scout, do you know how to dial 911? Yeah. Do you know the address of your house to tell the 911 operator and dispatcher? Yeah. As a scout, you've been taught first aid. So if somebody's hurt or injured, you know how to give them first aid." I have some props. First aid kit. Each one of you has made your own personal first aid kit. Yeah, we know how to do first aid. Well, what else do you know? Well, and they were just kind of mystified. And I said, "Well, how about if you just took a tarp and tied it down over the tree so that water wouldn't get in the house?" You all know knots. You know how to tie things down. You know how to cover a hole. You've tied up tarps. You've tied up tents. Some of you even tied up each other. You know, so as a scout, you know stuff. Okay, let's say the tree fell on the kitchen. You know how to build a fire safely because you've been through the scout process of learning how to build a fire safely. What are you going to do with the fire? You know how to cook over a fire. This is a small little cook kit. So you could feed yourself and feed your family, and if you had to, feed your neighbors. All of a sudden, these scouts started getting a little stiff in the backbone. What else do you know how to do? Well, when it's daylight, You've all had what we call tote and chip. You know how to use a saw or an axe or a knife safely because you've been through how to use these tools safely. So you could actually help trim up the tree. What else? If you get thirsty, you know how to take water and purify it. And I have a water filter here. There's also chemical purification. You could purify water over an open fire. Exactly, you could boil the water. You also know how, and here's soap and shampoo and stuff. You also know how to be sanitary because if you're going to eat, you need to know how to wash your hands and wash the pots and utensils after you eat. So what are you worried about? As a scout, you're better prepared than most adults to deal with a hurricane. And so as a scout, you've taken all those camping trips. You know how to put up a tent. You know how to sleep on the ground. You know how to act in a team. So what are you worried about? And the answer was nothing. There should be nothing. Okay. And that's primarily where your attitude should be. So the second part of this message is I'm going to give each one of you a present. Now, you're going to take one, give it to an adult quietly, which means no talking, and come right back, and you're going to open it after church, okay? Okay. So everybody come grab one. Grab one. There you go, quietly. And quietly give it to an adult. And moms and dads, if there's someone missing today, I have a few spares that you can take home. Now, the third thing I want to do is I want to offer a prayer in a scout-like manner. So what we're going to do is we're going to circle up together, then we're going to cross our arms right over left in a big tight circle. So would you join me? So I'm going to be close to the microphone. So circle up right over left, and we hold hands. And here we go. There's one set of hands. And the reason we cross our hands is because this makes the circle tighter. This brings us closer together. So a quick prayer. Dear God, thank you for everyone, for the lessons they learned, the fun they will have. Amen. Take care.
All right. Well, our scriptures today have been selected by Gaither, and they go with the message that he's bringing. The first one is from Judges, and here's how it begins. It says, So Gideon took the men down to the water, and there Jehovah, or the Lord, told him, Separate those who lap the water with their tongues as a dog laps from those who kneel down to drink. 300 of them drank with cupped hands, lapping like dogs, and all the rest got down on their knees to drink. And this last one is from John. And it's from the very beginning. It says, In the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and he was with God in the beginning.
Today were chosen by Gabe. And the second hymn we have is
I asked monthly meeting back in December if I could give the message today. And I have probably rewritten this thing probably 100 times since then. For those of you who know me, know that I can talk about scouting until the cows come home, the crows fly straight, and the weather turns awful, good, bad, and ugly, and back good again for hours and days. But today's message, I'm going to wander around just a little bit. So let's go back a couple of thousand years and talk about Gideon, what he was looking for in that moment. And can you imagine just you're traveling through the desert and you come upon an oasis and you're thirsty. And he's looking to separate the ones he wants and the ones he doesn't want. So just take a moment and just imagine that you have gone up to this spring and it's cool, it's in the shade, it's water, it's life-giving, and you just put your face straight in the water and start drinking. And what can you see? The water. Now imagine someone right beside you or close to you walks up to the same spring, that same shade, that same cool water, and scoops up a handful of water and drinks from his hand. And what can this person see? He can see around him. He can see the horizon. He's not going to be snuck up upon. He can drink just as much water here as he could face down. So Gideon was looking for someone who had that extra special touch. That extra special, and I'm going to use the term situational awareness, that he was not going to be snuck up upon, where the person that was lapping the water at the water's edge would be snuck up upon. So here in February, we celebrate the anniversary of scouting. Robert Stevenson, and if you pronounce it the English way, Smythe, Baden-Powell was a British Army officer who became a national hero for his 217-day defense of Mafeking, which is a city in South Africa. Earlier, he had written a book in 1899 called The Aids to Scouting for NCOs and Men. And guess what? Teachers started using it in school. But what completely surprised Baden-Powell was that his book was eagerly taken up by teachers and youth groups to help organize outdoor activities and sports. He eventually embraced the idea of adapting his work into a new youth-oriented book, Scouting for Boys, which he published in 1908, which went on to sell over 150 million copies. Baden-Powell described a scout as a person with pluck, P-L-U-C-K. Baden-Powell had met and worked with an American, Burnham Frederick Russell, and together over a small campfire one night, they came up with the idea of scouting. There are several biographies on Baden-Powell, but Russell's biography is called Scouting on Two Continents. To give you an idea of this young man, at 12 years old, he was guarding silver mines. Interesting. Really neat book to read. So in 1907, Baden-Powell organized a trial camp for boys at Brownsea Island, which is off the southern coast of England. And it was in such a success that they started the scouting movement, and he published Scouting for Boys. with his sister and his wife, and I'll spell it, Olave, O-L-A-V-E. They started Girl Guides, which morphed into Girl Scouts. Now, parallel to this, in 1902, Ernest Thomas Seton had started Woodcraft Indians in Connecticut. Daniel Carter Beard started the Sons of Daniel Boone in Cincinnati. And here we have a mystery that has never been solved. W.D. Boyce was visiting London and got lost in the fog. An unknown scout, and I assume he was in uniform, guided Mr. Boyce to his destination. And this young man refused a tip or a gratuity, stating that he was doing his good turn for the day, doing his good deed. Mr. Boyce went on and then visited Scouting's headquarters, and it is rumored that he met Baden-Powell, but there's no official record that says he did. He incorporated Boy Scouts of America on February 8th of 1910. Let's introduce two more names. Edgar Robinson and Lee Hanner asked Boyce to turn BSA over to the YMCA, and he did. Robinson and Hanner recruited Seton and Beard to merge with BSA. So they're merging Woodcraft Indians, Sons of Daniel Boone, and BSA together under the YMCA. Then in 1911, Mr. Robinson turned BSA over to James West, who became the first Chief Scout Executive. On June 15th of 1916, BSA was issued a federal congressional charter under Title 36 of the U.S. Code. So here in February, we're celebrating the anniversary of Scouting. The Scout Law has 12 points, and generally those of us in Scouting give the Scout sign. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. According to some statistics, there's only 4, 5, or 6 different countries in the whole world that do not have Scouting. The millions of people that have gone through Scouting is just unbelievable. But in 1 John, the first 10 points of the Scout Law are almost universal. BSA added clean and reverent. But to me, the first point of the Scout Law, a Scout is trustworthy, goes back to 1 John. In the beginning was the Word, and to me, that word means the truth. So a Scout's word is the best he can do. He is honest. His word is good. And let me take a couple of moments to share about me personally. I love Scouting. I've been doing it longer than some folks been alive. Particularly some of the, anyway. Have you ever watched kids learn something? There's that light bulb moment. It's funny, I still think of the cartoons with the light bulb going off. And where they grasp what you're trying to teach them. It is pure magic. And I'll just love seeing, like we just saw a few moments ago. That light bulb moment is one of the reasons I love Scouting. I also happen to love the outdoors. and I don't care the weather. We may complain about the rain and the fog and stuff, and then I remind folks that it's tough to get a drink of water if it doesn't rain every now and then. But if you've ever sat in a tent when it's raining or under a tarp, and that gentle rain is just music. It doesn't have notes like our music has, but it is music. It is nature's music. And if you're ever lucky enough to have camped in a snowstorm and all the world gets so quiet, you can almost hear your own heartbeat. It is, again, one of those magic moments, and one reason I love being outdoors. And even if it snows at home, I'll generally go out and take a walk in the snow and in the storm. The other thing that I love about scouting is some of my fellow scouts that I have teamed up with over the years to deliver the scouting message. There's something special that happens when I put on my uniform. There's something special about my fellow scouts that I get to spend time with. The bonds of trust and brotherly love are beyond amazing. So here in February, we're celebrating the anniversary of scouting.
You know, Gaither, when I was a kid, I think I told you this. When I was in elementary school, I wanted to be a scout. I did. I wanted the little uniform. I love to think that they got to do neat things and go camping, but we were not allowed to join scouts. Because I don't know if it was still a requirement, but my family was an atheist family. So we did not believe in God, and I didn't know, at least at the time, at least what I was told, is that you had to sort of subscribe to some sort of belief. It didn't necessarily have to be Christian, but have some sort of belief in maybe a higher power. And my mom was like, no, we can't do that. And I always knew that I was missing something. And I knew it wasn't just the uniform, although that was a big part of it. But I knew I was missing the camping and the community and the just opportunity to share something beyond. You know, like I said, I didn't know what it was. I didn't even know what I was missing, but I knew I was missing something. And it reminds me a little bit like church or meeting. in the sense that the vast majority of the people that live in my neighborhood or that are my age are sitting at home right now, and I hope they're watching a good soccer game. Or maybe they're getting ready for, oh no, football's not today. But they really don't know what they're missing. That there's something to being in this or any congregation on a Sunday or a Saturday or whenever you decide to worship. That there's something about a community, about a prayer, about an opportunity to hear great messages and witness ministry like the Scouts. And it makes me sad, if I can say, for them. Because sometimes we don't know what we're missing, and yet we sort of do. And again, I want to thank you for being here today and sharing this with me, because I hope you got something out of it, because I know I did, just by your very presence here today. So thank you, Gabe.
On my honor, I will try to serve God and my country, to help people at all times, and to live by the Girl Scout law.
hearts and minds clear. Let's close our service with hymn 624. And now may the great Scoutmaster of all scouts be with us till we meet again.